Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Around Our World in 80.
So this week we watched Cars.
Yay!
It's always a good movie.
All right, history of Cars according to Wikipedia. So Cars premiered on May 26, 2006 at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. And then it was theatrically released on June 9th. It was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, including Best Animated Feature, and won the Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Feature Film. Cars was actually the final Pixar film worked on by Joe Ranft. I hope I'm saying his name right. He actually died in a car accident a year before the film's release, and the film was second to be dedicated to his memory after Corpse Bride, that showed the roles he had done in other films directed by John Lasseter during the credits. This is also the last non-documentary movie for Paul Newman before his retirement in 2007. It turned out to be the highest grossing film of his career. Now, the genesis of Cars actually came in 1998 as Pixar was finishing on A Bug's Life. So think about it, they started it in 1998 and it didn't come out until 2006. But at that time, they began writing a new script called The Yellow Car, about an electric car living in a gas-guzzling world. And it was inspired by The Ugly Duckling. Some of the original drawings and characters were produced in 1998, and producers agreed that Cars could be the next movie after A Bug's Life, and would be released in early 1999, particularly around June 4th. However, the movie was eventually scrapped in favor of Toy Story 2. Thank goodness.
Interesting.
I don't think I would have enjoyed that plot line as much as the one we have now. Lasseter and the team obviously went to the big 3 American automotive companies to learn about how cars were designed and things like that.
Where you put the eyeballs of a car.
Yes.
Where the mouth goes.
Well, and there's a lot of text here in the Wikipedia page if you want to go look at it, but they talk about how difficult it was for them to figure out how to make cars anthropomorphic and actually make it look right. So they actually started with just paper and pencil, just trying to understand the different parts of the car and how they would get everything to look right.
Interesting.
Which is very different for a technology company like Pixar. Now, Cars was originally set to be released on November 4th, 2005. But on December 7th, 2004, its release date was changed to June 9th, 2006. When Steve Jobs, who was the chief executive at Pixar at the time, made the release date announcement, he stated that the reasoning was due to wanting to put all Pixar films on a summer release schedule, with DVD sales occurring during the holiday shopping season.
What a businessman.
Now, Cars was met with positive reviews. Review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported a 74% approval rating. The site's consensus reads, Cars offers visual treats that more than compensate for its somewhat thinly written story, adding up to a satisfying diversion for younger viewers.
Thinly written story. Interesting.
So, Jared, would you like to respond to the critics' response?
Cars, I always liked Cars. It's a good movie. It's fun. I mean, I guess it's not the deepest plot line in the world,
On the contrary, I think it's actually very deep.
Well, selfish guy gets, ramroded off of his scheduled life and learns about the meaning of life from simpler folk or whatever, and then goes back and there's this big changing moment in his life. I mean, to like A Christmas Carol, it's kind of like Cars version of that almost,
It's Ebenezer Scrooge learning to have Christmas.
Yeah, without the 3 ghosts. Instead, it was the ghost light mater and the Porsche.
But I love that they talk about the difference between just going, always got an agenda, always got somewhere to be, and instead, it's good to slow down and to enjoy life. And I love the nostalgia part of it as well, obviously, because I love vintage stuff. The neons every single time, that scene just makes me so happy. But I do love the side plot, so to speak, of the Hudson Hornet, where he was so bitter about the things that happened to him And he also puts aside his selfishness to help, Lightning McQueen, who has a life-changing moment as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Cars has a lot more sentimental feelings for me than probably the average person. Growing up, my grandfather, he actually used to work for Chrysler. And through working for Chrysler, he also raced with the Golden Commandos. With the Golden Commandos, my grandfather was the first guy to drive a altered wheelbase fuel-injected Hemi in national drag racing competition with the old Plymouth. And so growing up, I always used to hear stories about him racing, and they were always working on a car in the garage whenever we would go visit. My uncle has taken up the hobby as well. The wrench. And so cars in general has always been a big part of my family. So I actually remember we actually got my grandfather to come to the movie theater, which was a big deal because he never went to the movie theater. We got him to come with us to watch Cars. And obviously I was laughing because I enjoyed the movie. But there were some moments where some car would say some reference and I didn't necessarily understand it, but my grandfather just started laughing like really, really hard because it was some, joke that probably only racing guys.
Only gearheads would get.
Yeah, would get. So, I distinctly remember watching Cars with my grandfather, like obviously with all our family, but with him as well. And so that's why Cars has a really special place in my heart.
So for activity this week, we actually were already going to be in Maine because we decided to do a race with our family members up there, her uncle and his wife. They have a big race. It's now actually a pretty big race up in Maine, up in Portland, Maine. It's called the Beach to Beacon 10K.
Mm-hmm. So like I mentioned, my family has always been into cars and into racing. And my uncle, I mentioned, has definitely taken up the wrench. I call myself a wannabe car person. I know just enough to be dangerous to be able to fake it in a conversation, but I actually don't know what I'm talking about. But my uncle, on the other hand, he's the
real deal.
Real deal. And he has opened up a shop, a garage up in Maine. And I say garage, it's a legit garage.
Yeah. It's gonna be 7 bays here before too long.
Yeah. And they actually restore vintage cars.
At Double S Speed Shop, restoring old hot rods is the specialty.
It's a job that was passed down by one of the best in the world in 1960s racing. Rob Nesbitt visited the shop.
Make some fire.
On any given day at Double S Speed Shop in Portland, the sparks are flying. And the older models are pulling through the garage door.
1979 Jaguar.
Where for a year and a half, Fred Steves and Scott Pitcock have been specializing in remodeling hot rods from the 1950s.
Well, take a look. You take something old and make it new again, and something usable. What some people look at as junk, we see as potential for something very neat.
Yeah, but once that's taken off...
Scott and Fred love it when they come across a project that challenges their knowledge.
You basically want to keep it right on the edge.
Like the 1967 Volkswagen bus that they are converting into a food truck for custom events trucks.
Service window here that'll open up and they can serve out of it.
As well as the 1937 Ford truck that will be used to make beer deliveries.
Yeah, we can get a little bit of bow by stretching through here.
The history of the vehicles is something they understand with an impressive background of their own.
Anytime that a Chrysler product comes through, I kind of get a little extra excited.
Growing up, Scott watched his father, Forrest Pitcock, make a name for himself in the hot rod world.
It was, it's a Plymouth.
Building engines for the Chrysler racing team for 30 plus years. In 1964, he got the chance to be behind the wheel.
Every once in a while, they would have him drive because he was an excellent driver. Just so happened that he pulled the right straw that day and he did very well.
Not just well, but the best. Scott's dad drove his way to be the 1964 Superstock World Champion.
Chopped the top 3 inches.
Being around that legacy is what started Scott's love for hot rods. and how they tick.
We don't want to shine too much of this metal up.
So when an antique rolls into Double S Speed Shop to be welded, restored, and painted,
A white diamond pearl.
the boys at the other end of the tools think about what kind of history the car has had
Oh, that looks good.
so that it can continue to roll down the road in style.
It's easier just to use the whole piece, taking and doing something like this on these vehicles, and coming up with something that makes your head hurt a little bit, that keeps you sharp.
In Portland, Rob Nesbitt,
Good.
News Center.
Scott's father, Forrest Pitcock, who was the 1964 Superstock World Champion, is now living in Nashville, Tennessee. The 85-year-old is still working on engines. Scott and Fred at Double S will actually be heading to Tennessee in a couple weeks to pick up an engine that Forrest built for one of the hot rods they're restoring.
I'm impressed. 85 and still working on engines?
I bet he knows exactly what goes where.
Absolutely.
It's a full-on custom automobile shop. I mean, they can take a car all the way down to the frame and rebuild it, fabricating all the parts pretty much
It's
with
all by
the exception of the casted parts. So like they're not casting engine blocks or anything. But he was showing us some cars that he had hand hammered and hand bent and everything. The panels for the doors and everything, like they had to custom make a door for a car, and it's all by hand. They don't have any computer controlled anything. And he was telling us that some of, or at least one of his cars that he did, now goes. It's a replica from the show Supernatural, and anytime the owner takes it around to competitions, they always win by a landslide because it's that well done. So I mean, he's an award-winning custom automobile.
Yep. And the Trickster, which is the car from Supernatural, actually has their own Facebook page, and they documented the restoration process. And so if you want to go to it, I'll have the link so you guys can check it out. But they honestly do phenomenal work. And as makers ourselves, maybe not in the cars realm, but as makers in our own fields, like we really appreciated how
The craftsmanship.
Yeah, the craftsmanship of my uncle and his colleagues. They really do a phenomenal job. And so we asked him if we could feature his shop on the blog this week, and he said yes. So here's a tour of the shop. So what's the process? Somebody brings you a car, and they say, I need X, Y, and Z done on it.
We basically will take it down to nothing,
Yeah.
have it media blasted, and then start from scratch. But a lot of these cars have grown up in the north, and so they're rusted. I mean, beyond up to the door handles. You can see all the body panels we replaced. You know, that was all rust. And
Oh, wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
once we metal finish it, it'll be just like brand new.
What is this?
This is that's just the truck that I told you about that the gentleman, his father is not well. And this is a 1954 Chevy.
This is awesome.
Conversion on this car. It was an old build from years and years ago. We didn't build the car, but We did a lot of engine modifications, and it's just about finished.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. Yeah. Fuel-injected Hemi car to ever run a national competition, and just so happened, they call it the wheel car, they put his name on it. That was the only car that Dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
You mean on the
basically,
door?
your father was the first man to ever run a Hemi fuel-injected funny car in national competition.
Huh.
And that was the car.
You said this was Papa's drill.
No, this one, this little drill press right here.
Oh, got it. I can only
Yep.
see the other one.
No.
In my short self.
Pretty close to that.
Yeah, and we use it, as you can see, we use it all
Yeah.
the time. That was kept by the team.
So,
Is that right?
Yeah, so that was just a match race trophy.
Yeah, I do remember this being in the house.
so this is.
It was downstairs. There was a fireplace downstairs, and Mom used to keep it on the fireplace hearth. He'll change his mind.
So
He just
what's the
takes-
story with all the guitars on the wall?
Fred
That was
is
my
a guitar player, and he builds guitars. He
I was
builds.
gonna say he's got some really interesting and unique
Yeah.
ones.
So, what's been your favorite build to date?
We did a supernatural car. Have you ever seen that TV? There's a, yeah. So they have, it's kind of like the Duke show, you know, where they have a hero car. And customer came to us and said, oh, you know, I want you guys to build me a TV car. And we were like, oh, okay. The Duke's a Hazard car, you know. She goes, no, it's supernatural. I'm like,
Like the show
yeah,
Supernatural?
yeah, it's on,
Oh, okay.
it's been like on
I know
for
it.
10 years, 10
Sci-fi
seasons.
Yeah.
channel or something?
So it's
Has
like
quite
the
a
Hardy
cult
Boys
following.
meet the vampires, and so they got
yeah.
this killer car. It's called Metallic Car, and
Yeah.
it's a 1967 four-door Chevy Impala. And so the woman, she owns 7 title companies, and she comes to us with this rusted-out tree fell on the roof, caved the whole roof of this car. It's got to be a 67. It's got to be a 4-door. It's got to be a hardtop. So she says, "Can you guys fix the roof on the car?" And I said, "Sure." She's like, "I've been to 11 places. and
Really?
You're the only ones that just didn't even bat an eye." And we're like, "Well, we do."
Yeah.
So she says, "Well, this is what I want to do." So anyway, we built it. It was like a year build, and she was a participant. She did a lot of the work herself, like took the interior out and this and that.
Oh, cool.
We actually did all the body work, and and the car's black. And she has the car has its own Facebook page and a website, and it's called The Trickster. And
There you go.
there's there's this huge competition. If you go to Comic-Con, they have the metallic car
Yep.
competition.
Yep.
And hers, every time she goes,
Wow.
there's one that's called Thor, and so we'd say Thor is her the trickster's bitch, because every time the trickster shows up, Thor's like,
Oh man.
come on. So yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty. That was a pretty fun build. It was super intense, but it was really fun. And then the beer truck, of course, was one of our. I mean, that was every nut, bolt, everything on that car was, or that truck. Actually, it's here in this Portland. Oh, but that's the same picture you guys saw, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, and they designed the kegs. On the other side of the box is a huge ice chest, which is all fiberglassed in. You could open it up, and you fill this full of ice. And they built like a still type thing that cools the beer. The beer actually runs from the kegs down through that ice chamber, and they can leave it out in the sun at 100 degrees for a week, and the beer will still be cold.
That's awesome.
It's really cool.
So, like, I've always been really interested in this because obviously Papa did a lot of car stuff, Mopar guy, all this stuff.
Right.
So, like, what was it about hanging out with Papa or whatever, like, made you so interested in cars that you just wanted to do it as a living?
I don't know. I think it really has to be just one of those things that clicks with everybody. Every kid is different, you know.
Yeah.
I thought, all the boys would be, you know, or whatever. Or, you know, I figured Lou wouldn't have any interest, and she's probably more of a gearhead than all of them. Although Quinn has really hit a stride, and he's amazing. But it just really has to be something that's a passion with you. I mean, I've got pictures of her, though. I mean, she's been to every car show, all the drag races, and maybe that was it. Because I was always with Dad.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the girls would go with Mom, and I'd go with Dad, and we'd either be working in the yard, or we'd go to the drag strip, or you know, even when I was
Yeah.
super young, I've got a couple of pictures. Well, he does, and I can't find them, but there were pictures of me with like a cup holder thing, you know, on my head so that I'd stay out of the sun.
Yes.
I was probably, it was probably 63, 64, so I was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out in the pits, and it was, I mean, I don't specifically remember that, but
Yeah.
I think that might have had
Just being around it all the
yeah.
time.
Although Dad was a pretty big influence.
Yeah.
You know. And we were close. I mean, I was close. You talk to some kids today, and they're really not. It's not like we were. You know, we played and everything, and had, you know, we had a pretty Mayberry childhood. I think, you know, compared to what I hear, I'm like, man, we were blessed.
Yeah.
But it's just something that was just part of my personality. I think it was just kind of who I am.
Well, Jared talks about when he was a kid and working with his dad. I mean, they could have been building a fence, but
Yeah.
it was that time with your dad that
It was,
he always
you know.
remembers.
We hated that time digging those fence posts for
Yep.
that stupid horse and stuff. I mean, I dug every one of those in that 7 acres by myself. I was what, 13 or 14, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm out there with a post hole digger. I hated that. I couldn't.
Yep.
We stretched that fence and put all that up around there.
Yep.
You know, but those are, you know, memories that were
Yeah.
good. You know.
I love it.
This is my buddy Gary's car who moved to Texas,
Yeah.
Colorado, Fort Collins.
Yep.
Oh.
And he had this car built. This was one of the first collector cars he bought. And he's the guy that designs drugs.
Yeah, the
Yes.
pharmaceutical.
Yes. And he had it built back in the day, and he wanted a red Corvette.
Like keeping paint staying the same color when you have like Bondo and stuff that you're using. 'Cause
Well,
I've seen like if it's
we
not
don't
done
use-
well, the paint changes colors and
We're
stuff.
what we'll do is where it had the old filler in it, that'll all come out. And then we'll fiberglass over it correctly. And then we block everything by hand. We don't use any DAs or anything. Then we long block it, so the car will be fiberglass again.
So just like the one that he won.
He won his world championship in, yeah.
Oh, really?
And,
So awesome.
But it was built for today's spec as far as safety. So when Lou and I race it, I got the, it's certified, roll cage is certified, it has everything we need to run it together. Because she can run it with me as a co-pilot. So I run it, she shifts it, and
Really?
and then
That's awesome.
yeah.
So cool.
So this is the exact same. This original Max or 426 Hemi. It's the A990. This is original magnesium intake
wow.
from '64. They used to run those super stock screens on them instead of air cleaners. So this is all correct, other than the modern radiator and fuel regulator and the electric water pump. They never ran that. But I'm going to convert that back over to an alternator so I can drive it on the street. So
That's awesome.
I'll be taking her to school in this probably next year.
Time out. Time out. I want to hear this story.
I got in trouble for drag racing on the way home from church on Sunday night and at Bob Jones, and so I got my license suspended.
Oh my God.
Well, my privileges
Yeah.
suspended for like a semester. And so Kathy would like have all her friends, they'd be like, hey, we want to go to the mall. So I'd hear, it was funny, we'd walk across campus and hear the rumble of familiar sound. I look up and there's these 6 girls piled in that Roadrunner going to the mall.
Shopping, baby.
So thank you so much to my Uncle Scott for letting us not only come and see your shop and get a tour, but also feature it on the blog. It was definitely one of those special memories that we're going to have for a very long time.
And also for hosting us for the weekend.
Absolutely. We loved seeing you guys, and hopefully we'll make it back soon because it's so pretty up there. So thank you guys for joining us this week, and we will see you guys real soon.